The night sky burned red above Montana's wilderness. James Miller stood on his cabin's porch, watching the strange light tear through the clouds. At first, he thought it was a meteor, but meteors didn't change direction. This object zigzagged like a wounded bird before disappearing behind the mountain ridge. A loud explosion shook the ground. James grabbed his emergency bag without thinking. Old habits from his rescue pilot days dying hard. He might have left that life behind to become a mountain ranger, but the need to help was still in his blood. The crashed object wasn't hard to find. It had carved a half-mile trench through the forest, leaving broken trees and burning debris in its wake. As James approached, his flashlight beam revealed a sight that made him stop in his tracks. This wasn't a plane or a satellite. The sleek, silver hull and strange markings could only mean one thing. He was looking at an alien spacecraft. Steam hissed from the broken vessel. James checked his radiation detector, a habit from his ranger training. The readings were normal. He moved closer, his boots crunching on strange metallic fragments. "Hello," he called out. "Anyone alive in there?" A weak pounding came from inside the ship. James's heart raced. Someone, or something, was alive in there. He searched the hull until he found what looked like a hatch. The metal was hot, but not burning. Using his gloved hands, he found a lever-like mechanism and pulled. The hatch opened with a hydraulic hiss, releasing a cloud of smoke. As it cleared, James's flashlight revealed something that made his jaw drop. Inside was a humanoid figure, but not like any human he'd ever seen. The being was clearly female, but she stood at least 7 feet tall. Her skin had a subtle blue tint, and what looked like natural armor plates covered parts of her body. She was also badly injured. Blue blood seeped from several wounds, and her breathing was shallow. Strange armor and weapons were fused to her body in places, probably from the crash's heat. "Hold on," James said, knowing she probably couldn't understand him. "I'm going to help you." The alien warrior's eyes fluttered open for a moment. They were striking. Silver irises with vertical pupils, like a cat's. She tried to speak, but only managed a weak sound before losing consciousness. James knew he had minutes to act. Despite her size, he managed to pull her from the wreck using techniques he'd learned in rescue operations. Her body was surprisingly light for her size. Maybe her world had different gravity. The trek back to his cabin was brutal. Even with her lightweight frame, carrying someone 7 feet tall through rough terrain wasn't easy. James had to stop several times to check her pulse, or what he hoped was a pulse, at her neck. The rhythm was different from a human's, but it was steady. Inside his cabin, James cleared his kitchen table and laid her on it. His first aid kit wasn't designed for aliens, but basic medical principles had to count for something. Clean the wounds, stop the bleeding, prevent shock. He worked through the night, using everything from bandages to superglue to staunch her blue blood. As dawn approached, James finally sat down, exhausted. The alien warrior was stable, he thought, but what happened next was anyone's guess. Questions raced through his mind. Should he call the authorities? Would they take her away for experiments? Was there an alien rescue team coming? Would they be friendly? Looking at her unconscious form, James made his decision. He'd spent his life saving people. Human or alien shouldn't matter. He would help her heal and deal with the consequences later. What he didn't know then was that saving her life would change everything, not just for him, but for 2 civilizations. As the first light of dawn crept through his window, James Miller, former rescue pilot and current mountain ranger, had no idea that he'd just initiated first contact with a race that would turn his world upside down. The alien warrior stirred slightly in her sleep, and James settled in for what would surely be an interesting awakening. James dozed in his chair when a loud crash jolted him awake. The alien warrior had rolled off his kitchen table and was now crouched in a defensive stance, her silver eyes darting around the cabin. Despite her injuries, she moved with the fluid grace of a predator. "Easy there," James said softly, keeping his hands visible. "You're safe." The warrior spoke, her voice deep and melodious, but in a language that sounded like crystal chimes and rolling thunder. She touched her throat in frustration, then pointed to herself. "Kara, she said clearly. James nodded, pointing to himself. James. Kara straightened to her full height, making James feel small in his own home. She looked down at her bandaged wounds, touching them carefully. Her expression changed from suspicious to curious. She pointed to the bandages, then to James, tilting her head in question. Yes, I helped you, James said, miming bandaging actions. Your ship crashed. At the mention of her ship, Kara's eyes widened. She moved toward the door, but her legs buckled. James rushed forward to catch her, surprising both of them when he managed to support her weight. Their eyes met, and James noticed faint patterns swirling in her silver irises. She said something in her language, sounding impressed. James helped her to his couch, which creaked under her tall frame. Kara watched intently as he checked her bandages. The blue blood had stopped flowing, and he noticed her wounds were already healing faster than any humans would. Suddenly, Kara grabbed his wrist. Her grip was firm but careful, as if she was very aware of her strength. She placed his hand on her chest, then moved it to his own chest. James felt the difference immediately. Her heart beat in a complex rhythm, like a drum symphony compared to his simple human heartbeat. Different, she said in English, surprising him. Learn. Fast. You can learn English that quickly? James asked, amazed. Kara tapped her temple. Mind. Different. Words. Coming. Over the next few hours, her English improved rapidly. She explained that her species, the Starborn, had enhanced learning abilities. By midday, she was speaking in basic sentences. I am warrior class, she told him, sitting straighter despite her injuries. Ship attacked by rivals. Escaped through jump gate. Systems failed. You saved me. Anyone would have helped, James said. Kara laughed, a sound like bells ringing. No, many would fear. Killed strange alien. You helped. Shows strength. She stood up carefully, moving to the window to look at the forest. Your world. Much green. My world. More stone. More metal. Warriors live in sky cities. James brought her some soup, which she sniffed cautiously before tasting. Her eyes widened in surprise. Good. Different from nutrient paste. As they ate, Kara studied him with increasing interest. James noticed her gaze lingering on his shoulders, his hands, his face. It made him slightly uncomfortable, but not in an unpleasant way. You were pilot? She asked, pointing to an old photo of him by his rescue helicopter. Yes. Search and rescue. Now I protect these mountains. Ah. Kara's face lit up with understanding. Guardian of territory, respected role among my people. She stood again, moving with more strength now. Must check ship. Need to destroy. Cannot let humans find technology. I'll help you, James offered, but you should rest more first. Kara looked at him with an expression he couldn't quite read. You keep helping. Keep showing strength and honor. She paused, then added with complete seriousness, this is good. Very good. Something in her tone made James wonder exactly what she meant by good. He had no idea that in Kara's mind, she was already making plans that would completely reshape both their lives. As she looked at him with those swirling silver eyes, she was seeing far more than just the human who had saved her life. She was seeing a future that James couldn't yet imagine. 3 days after the crash, James and Kara finished destroying the last pieces of her ship. They had worked together to dismantle it, with Kara's strength and James's knowledge of the terrain helping them hide the pieces where no one would find them. Good work, Kara said, wiping blue-tinted sweat from her forehead. Her wounds had almost completely healed, showing the remarkable recovery rate of her species. She turned to James with an intense look. Now we must talk. Important matters. Back at the cabin, Kara paced the living room while James made coffee. He had learned that she could drink it safely, and she had become quite fond of the bitter drink. As he handed her a mug, she spoke with formal authority in her voice. Among my people, life debts are sacred, she began. When warrior saves warrior, bonds are formed. Unbreakable bonds. James sat down, feeling suddenly nervous. That's not necessary. I just did what was right. No. Kara's voice was firm. You don't understand. You showed great strength. Not just body strength. Mind strength. Heart strength. She pointed to his rescue pilot photo. You risk life for others. You live alone but protect territory. You heal enemies without fear. She moved closer, her silver eyes swirling with intensity. I have watched you. You are a perfect match. Match? James asked, his coffee cup freezing halfway to his mouth. Yes. Among Starborn, strength must be preserved, enhanced. Best warriors join to make stronger children. You, she pointed at him, have qualities our people need. James nearly choked on his coffee as understanding dawned. Wait, are you saying? I demand rights to have your offspring, Kara declared proudly. Your genes combined with mine would create superior warrior line. The coffee cup slipped from James's hand, but Kara caught it with lightning reflexes before it could spill. This only seemed to reinforce her point. See, we work well together. Good coordination. Good traits for offspring. James stood up, trying to process what was happening. Kara, on Earth, we don't. That's not how we. Your Earthways are different, yes, she acknowledged. But think logically. You are unmated. I am unmated. Both strong. Both protect others. Both survive well. Is perfect match. She moved closer, and James became very aware of how she towered over him. Yet somehow he wasn't afraid. Her presence was powerful but not threatening. Among my people, this is highest honor, she continued. Many warriors compete for right to join bloodlines. I choose you freely. No competition needed. Unflattered, James said carefully. But humans usually take time to get to know each other first. We date. We fall in love. Kara tilted her head. Love. Explain this concept. It's an emotional connection. A deep feeling of caring and attraction that grows over time. Ah. Kara's eyes lit up with understanding. Like battle bond. When warriors fight together, trust grows. Connection deepens. She smiled. We have this already. You healed me. We destroyed ship together. We share meals. We talk many hours. James couldn't help but laugh at her enthusiasm. It's a bit more complicated than that. Kara crossed her arms, looking amused. Humans make everything complicated. Starborn are direct. See worth, claim mate, create strong offspring. She sat down next to him. But if you need time for love, I will wait. Cannot force bond. Would make offspring weak. James felt oddly touched by her concession. Thank you for understanding. But Kara added with a gleam in her eye, will prove I am right choice. Will show you worth of Starborn warrior as mate. As James watched her confidently drink her coffee, he realized his quiet life as a mountain ranger had just become very, very interesting. Kara had declared her intentions with all the subtlety of a charging rhino, and something told him she wasn't the type to give up easily. What had he gotten himself into? The peaceful mountain morning shattered with the sound of Kara's warning shout. James rushed outside to find her staring at the sky, her body tense like a coiled spring. They found me, she growled, her silver eyes tracking something James couldn't see. Rival hunters. 2 ships, cloaked. She grabbed his arm. Must hide. They will kill you to get to me. James had other ideas. This is my territory. I know every cave, every trail. We don't hide. We make them regret coming here. Kara's eyes swirled with surprise and approval. You think like warrior. She reached into her partially repaired armor and pulled out a small device. Emergency beacon. Can detect their ships. You know land, I know enemy. Together we fight. They ran into the forest just as 2 shimmering forms appeared in the sky. Sleek, predatory ships that looked built for hunting. James led Kara through dense undergrowth, following a path only he knew. 3 hunters in each ship, Kara explained as they moved. Will land soon. Hunt on foot. More sport that way. Her lip curled in disgust. No honor. Hunt wounded warrior. James led them to a narrow canyon. This area is full of caves and old mining tunnels. We can use them to our advantage. Kara nodded approvingly. You understand tactical thinking. This is why. She stopped suddenly, pushing James behind a boulder as energy bolts sizzled past them. 3 tall figures in armor similar to Kara's emerged from the trees. Their helmets had glowing red visors, and they carried weapons that looked like advanced rifles. "Come out, Kara," one called in the crystal chime language James had first heard. "Accept your death with honor." Kara answered with a battle cry that shook leaves from the trees. She burst from cover, moving faster than James had ever seen her move. The hunters fired, but she was already rolling, coming up with a large rock in her hand. She threw it with incredible force, knocking one hunter's weapon away. James didn't waste the distraction. He grabbed a fallen branch and swung it hard at the nearest hunter's legs. The alien went down, surprised by the attack from an unexpected direction. Kara used the moment to close the distance, her hand-to-hand combat skills proving devastating at close range. "The human fights," one hunter shouted, sounding shocked. "It fights well. He fights with honor." Kara shouted back, dodging energy bolts. "More honor than you." James grabbed the fallen hunter's weapon. It was heavy and strange, but a trigger was a trigger. He aimed at the ground near the hunters, forcing them to dodge. Kara used the moment to disarm another one. Suddenly, the ground shook. The second group of hunters had arrived, rappelling down from their ship with weapons ready. "The caves," James shouted, providing covering fire as Kara fought her way toward him. Together, they ran into the narrow canyon entrance. The hunters followed, but they didn't know what James knew. "Duck!" he yelled. Kara dropped instantly. James fired at the canyon wall, where he knew the old support beams were rotting. The energy bolt hit true, and tons of rock came crashing down, blocking the hunter's path. "That will not hold them long," Kara said, breathing hard. But she looked at James with new respect. "Very clever. Using land as weapon." "We're not done yet," James grinned. "These caves connect to an old mine shaft system. We can circle around behind them." Kara's eyes swirled with excitement. "You are remarkable. Most humans would run. You plan counterattack." "Nobody threatens my home," James said simply. "Or my friends." Kara touched his shoulder, her expression intense. "More than friend, partner in battle now. Among my people, this creates strongest bond." Before James could respond, more energy bolts lit up the cave. The hunters were breaking through. But as he and Kara moved deeper into the caves, James realized something had changed between them. They weren't just survivor and rescuer anymore. They were a team. And the hunters were about to learn why that was a very dangerous thing. 2 days after defeating the hunters, James and Kara sat on his cabin's porch watching the stars. The hunters' ships lay hidden under camouflage tarps in the forest, spoils of their victory. Kara had been unusually quiet all evening, her silver eyes fixed on a particular point in the night sky. "My rescue beacon received response," she finally said. "Starborn patrol ship comes. Will arrive tomorrow." James felt his heart sink. He'd known this day would come, but somehow he pushed it to the back of his mind. "That's good. You can go home." Kara turned to him, her expression complex. Home is not a simple word anymore. She stood up, towering in the moonlight. "I must tell you something. About hunters, about why they chased me." James waited as she gathered her thoughts. "I am not just warrior," she said. "Am highborn. Daughter of fleet commander. Was promised to mate with rival clan's champion. For alliance." Her face hardened. "But he was cruel warrior. Fought without honor. I refused match." "That's why they were hunting you," James realized. "You ran away." "Yes. Broke tradition. Brought shame to clan." She laughed bitterly. "But then found you. Human who fights with more honor than starborn champion, who uses mind and heart as weapons, not just strength." She knelt before him, bringing their eyes level. "Patrol ship comes with message. I can return, accept punishment, accept match. Or," her eyes swirled with emotion, "I can choose exile." "Kara," James started, but she held up her hand. "Not finished. Have third choice." She took his hand in hers. You can come with me. Return as my chosen mate. Ancient laws allow trial by combat. You proved worth against hunters. Have right to challenge. James sat back, stunned. You want me to go to your world? Fight their champion? Yes, but understand cost. Must leave Earth. Life among stars different. Dangerous. She squeezed his hand gently. Or, I stay here. Learn Earth ways. But would be hunted. Would bring danger to you. What about staying on Earth but going public? James suggested. Let everyone know about your people. Kara shook her head. Too soon. Earth not ready. Would cause chaos. War, maybe. James stood up and walked to the railing, looking out at his beloved mountains. Everything he knew was here. His life, his work, his home. But in just a few short weeks, his world had grown so much bigger. He turned back to Kara. If I went with you, would we have to stay there forever? Her eyes brightened. No. Could be ambassadors. Bridge between worlds. Prepare both peoples for future meeting. She smiled. Could even have mountain home. Many worlds have mountains. James couldn't help but laugh. Then he grew serious. Kara, when you first talked about wanting my child, was that just about genetics? She moved closer to him. Started as genetics. Warrior thinking. But now, she touched his face gently. Now is about heart. About trust. About. She searched for the word. Love. James caught her hand, holding it against his cheek. You're learning Earth ways pretty well. Learn from best teacher, she said softly. Then she straightened, her warrior bearing returning. But must decide soon. Ship comes tomorrow. Cannot land on Earth. Too risky. Must meet in orbit. James took one last look at his mountains, at the cabin he'd called home for so many years. Then he looked at Kara, this incredible being who had literally fallen from the sky and changed everything. Well, he said with a smile, I always did want to fly again. Kara's eyes lit up like silver stars, but she forced herself to be serious. Must be sure. No regrets. James reached up and touched her face, marveling at how natural it felt now. My only regret would be letting you leave without me. Above them, a shooting star streaked across the sky. Tomorrow would bring challenges, dangers, and a completely new life among the stars. But for now, they had this moment, this choice, this beginning of something extraordinary. And James wouldn't have it any other way. The Starborn battle arena floated in space, a massive ring-shaped structure orbiting a gas giant. James stood in the preparation chamber, wearing modified Starborn armor that Kara had helped him adjust. Through the viewing window, thousands of alien spectators filled the seats, their silver eyes glowing in the dim light. Remember training, Kara said, checking his armor one last time. Darkhan is strong, but proud. Expects easy victory over human. Use this. In the 3 days since leaving Earth, Kara had taught James everything she could about Starborn combat. His rescue pilot reflexes and mountain ranger agility had proven surprisingly useful in the lower gravity environment. Your father still hasn't accepted this, James asked, watching the fleet commander's stern face in the royal box above. Kara's expression hardened. Tradition is strong, but law is law. You defeated hunters on Earth. Have right to challenge. She touched his arm. Win this, we gain freedom. Lose, she didn't finish. A deep horn sounded. The arena's force field shimmered, containing the battle area. On the opposite side, a door opened. Darkhan, Kara's original intended mate, stepped out. He stood even taller than Kara, his armor decorated with battle trophies. Last chance, Kara. Darkhan's voice boomed across the arena. Reject this weak human. Accept proper match. Kara stepped forward, her voice equally powerful. James Miller of Earth has challenged. By ancient law, combat decides. The horn sounded again. James stepped into the arena, hearing murmurs ripple through the crowd. Many had never seen a human before. Darkhan laughed, the sound echoing off the force field. This will be quick, he sneered, activating his energy blade. James said nothing, falling into the ready stance Kara had taught him. His own energy blade hummed to life, its blue glow contrasting with Darkon's red. Darkon charge, exactly as Kara had predicted. His blade swung in a powerful arc, strong but slow. James didn't try to block. Instead, he rolled under the swing, using the lower gravity to his advantage. His blade scored a light hit on Darkon's leg as he passed. The crowd gasped. First blood to the human. Darkon roared in anger, his attacks becoming faster but wilder. James kept moving, using the techniques he learned climbing mountains. Every surface became an opportunity. He bounced off walls, used his smaller size to slip through gaps in Darkon's defense. Stand and fight, Darkon demanded, his frustration growing. Why? James asked calmly. Afraid to admit a human is outsmarting you. The taunt worked. Darkon charged again, but this time James stood his ground. Their blades met in a shower of sparks. Darkon's superior strength pushed James back, but that's what James wanted. He switched off his blade at the last second, causing Darkon to overbalance. James ducked under his arm and reactivated the blade, scoring another hit. The crowd was fully engaged now. Many were cheering for the clever human warrior. Kara watched proudly as James proved himself not just strong, but smart. But Darkon wasn't finished. He threw down his blade and charged barehanded. I'll crush you the old way. James had been waiting for this. Kara had told him proud warriors often resorted to primitive combat when frustrated. As Darkon reached for him, James used the alien's own momentum. Years of rescue training had taught him how to handle larger opponents. He turned, shifted his weight, and sent Darkon flying. In the low gravity, Darkon sailed into the force field. The impact stunned him. Before he could recover, James had his blade at Darkon's throat. Yield, James said firmly. Darkon's eyes blazed with fury. Never. Yield, James repeated. Unless you want it known you died dishonorable death. Beaten by a weak human. The arena fell silent. Everyone waited. Finally, Darkon spoke the ritual words. I yield to the better warrior. The crowd erupted. Kara rushed into the arena, lifting James in a joyful embrace. Above them, even the fleet commander had stood, giving the traditional salute of respect. James had done more than win a fight. He had proven that humans could stand equal to the mighty Starborn. And as Kara held him, both of them knew their real journey was just beginning. The stars waited. 1 year after the arena battle, James stood at the window of their mountain home on Centauri Prime, the first joint human Starborn colony. The familiar sight of pine-like trees and snow-capped peaks helped him feel connected to Earth, even though these mountains were light years away from Montana. Kara's reflection appeared behind him in the window. She wrapped her arms around him, her silver eyes soft in the alien sunset. Her warrior armor had been replaced by the formal robes of a diplomatic ambassador, though she still moved with the same deadly grace. Earth delegation arrives tomorrow, she said, excitement in her voice. First official contact. You ready? James turned to face her, smiling at how their languages had mixed over the past year. They both spoke a blend of English and Starborn now, creating their own unique dialect. Ready as I'll ever be. Still can't believe your father chose us as ambassadors. Fleet commander chose wisely, Kara said proudly. Who better? We prove worlds can join. Prove love stronger than tradition. Their home's communication panel chimed. A holographic image appeared. Kara's father, the fleet commander, his stern face now softened by time and understanding. Final preparations complete, he announced. Earth ships will land at dawn. Kara, James, you have done well. Many thought humans too primitive, too emotional. You proved them wrong. He paused, his silver eyes twinkling. And how is my grandchild growing? Kara placed a hand on her swollen belly, where their baby, the first human Starborn child, grew strong. Doctor says perfect blend. Has James's brain patterns, Starborn physical traits. Will be bridge between worlds, just like parents. James still marveled at how much had changed. The Starborn, who once saw humans as barely worthy of notice, now sought alliance. His victory in the arena had sparked curiosity. Videos of the battle had spread through starborn space, showing humans could be both clever and honorable. "Remember when you crashed in my forest?" James asked Kara after her father's image faded. "Demanding my genes for your offspring." Kara laughed, the sound still like crystal chimes. Was proper warrior then. Thought only of breeding strong children. She touched his face gently. Didn't know human heart could be strongest part. Their moment was interrupted by a small alarm. Outside, lights flashed across the sky. The Earth ships entering atmosphere for their landing approach. Tomorrow, everything would change again. Humans would officially learn they weren't alone in the universe. "Nervous?" Kara asked. "A little," James admitted. "This is bigger than us now. Whole cultures meeting, mixing." "Like us," Kara said simply. "Was scary at first. New things, different ways. But look now, have home in mountains, have love, have child coming, have respect of both peoples." James pulled her close, feeling their baby move. Pretty good for a mountain ranger and a crashed alien who demanded his genes. Kara's eyes swirled with happiness. Demanded genes, got heart instead. Best trade in galaxy. She looked out at the ship's landing. "New chapter starts tomorrow. Many challenges coming. We'll face them together," James said, "like we've faced everything else." Later that night, they stood on their balcony watching the stars. Somewhere out there was Earth, and somewhere else was Kara's homeworld. But here, on this new world, in these familiar yet alien mountains, they had created something entirely new. Their child moved again, strong and healthy. It would grow up knowing both worlds, both cultures, both ways of thinking. It would be living proof that love could bridge the gap between stars. "Thank you," Kara said suddenly. "For what?" "For saving crashed alien. For not running when I made demands. For fighting for us. For everything." James looked at his incredible wife, this warrior who had literally fallen from his sky and changed his universe. "Thank you for crashing in my forest." Above them, Earth's ships settled onto the landing pads, their lights twinkling like fallen stars. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new adventures, new chances to bridge the gap between worlds. But tonight was just for them, the mountain ranger and his alien warrior. Proof that sometimes the greatest journeys start with a simple act of kindness and a slightly unusual demand for genetic material.